Man, surviving as mage in high keys is basically impossible. Today, I'm gonna show you how to play every single normal pull in dungeons, where to press defensives, where not to press defensives, and how to get to 21 plus in no time. I structured this video with a timeline, so you can skip to the dungeon or pull that you are struggling the most with. This guide covers most of the pulls that I use in high keys, and if you can survive them as mage, I'm pretty sure that you can use this information to also survive on any other class. Let's start with Maisara Caverns. First pull is usually pretty big. In high keys you oftentimes pull 2 birds and a headhunter. The only thing that can kill you here is the frontal of the birds and the headhunter. Make sure that you're never low HP, so the spear can one-shot you, and also make sure to dodge the ground effects. Other than that, you don't really have to press any defensive. You could in theory alter time some of the spear hits, but it's just like a plus so the healer has less to heal. The second pull of Maisara Caverns usually involves this mammoth. Here, you only have to make sure that you have a defensive up whenever the AoE comes out. So you can see, for example, on the first AoE, I will press block right here. And on the second AoE, I would press my barrier last second. Why do you want to barrier last second? You have a caster in this pull and sometimes even some masks. And both of those can hit you for quite some amount of damage. And if your barrier breaks before the AoE, you will get one shot. So make sure that you press your barrier in the last second. You can see this right here. The AoE is going out and I will press barrier last second right here. Like this, you will never die. If you want to be extra cheeky, you can even alter time before the AoE to make sure that your healer is happy and he doesn't have to heal you. The third pull usually involves you pulling 2 birds on top of the Soul Eater with 2 casters. Just make sure to kick the bolts and dodge the ground effects and dodge the frontal of the birds. It's basically the same as the first pull. You can't really die here if you just keep dodging. A lot of times in higher keys you will see that the tank snaps down some mobs onto this boss. Here for the start there's nothing really dangerous. Make sure to kick your target. For example, you can see my blue mark on one of the casters. If you do that, you shouldn't really struggle to survive here because nothing really does damage to you. The only important thing to know for you on this boss is gonna be the frontal. I'm gonna skip a bit forward in the video now. Here you can see me getting barrage. Once you are the barrage target, immediately press block on the first one. That way there's no way that you can die and it's just the safest way to play. The healer also cocooned me. This is because he rotates his trinket and his cocoon for every single barrage. If you get a second barrage, you would just press alter time immediately, maybe even health pot if you need to, and then you should be fine even in the plus 22. This Bloodlust pull can be pretty hard. We play 4 casters. But you have to know that nothing here can really kill you as long as you keep kicking on cooldown. Maybe even use your supernova to knock up some casters if there's many casts at the same time. And last but not least, don't be afraid to use your block. You can see that I blocked really early into the pull here. I just wanted to make sure that I don't die in my cooldowns. This is like a proactive block usage. You don't really have any need for that block after this pull, so just feel free to use it whenever you feel like you might die. On the following pulls up to the boss, there's not really much happening, so I'm gonna skip forward a bit here. Basically, just make sure that you purge the targets with the shield so they don't explode at the same time. And other than that, dodge ground effects, kick mobs. Even if a bolt goes through, it won't one-shot you on 22, so you should be fine. Vordaza can be insanely hard if you play Arcane Mage. If you play Frost, you have double block, double barrier, it should be really free for you. But here, you really have to assess your health. You can see on the first one I was full health, so I decided that I don't need anything. Now, if you look at my health, I have to make sure that I have enough HP to survive the next hit. So I'm alter timing here on full HP and then I alter time back immediately after. Just make sure to always alter time on full HP before the explosion and then alter time back after. That way you will survive most of the hits. This is something I see a lot of mages struggle with. They don't use the alter time and then they just die. Make sure to always use it on cooldown. It's your best defensive and it is important that you learn how to use it. In the intermission, make sure that you see what your team is up to. For example, here we saw darkness, so there's no point of us pressing block before. After the darkness runs out, for example, I press block. If he wouldn't have used darkness, I probably would have blocked first, and then once the block ends, I would have pressed alter time. So that way you will cover the whole intermission. As Arcane Mage, for example, you don't have block for both phases, right? Because they're not 3 minutes from each other. So that means for one of the intermissions you will use Bloodlust, and for the other one you will use block and maybe alter time. Don't forget to use your alter time in the Bloodlust intermission too. It's really strong. If you need more help on surviving it, feel free to watch my whole VOD. I uploaded the run on YouTube, and let's move on to the last boss. This boss should not be dangerous for you. The AoE ticks that he's doing are so far from each other that usually the healer can easily heal you up. If you ever feel like the healer is not able to heal you up between those ticks, as you can see on the left, feel free to use a health pot, feel free to use block. So before the AoE hits you, you press all the time, let the AoE hit you all the time back, and you are already safe for the next one. With this we covered Maisara Caverns. This is one of the easier dungeons to live, that's why I wanted to cover it first. Let's get into the next one. Good for 5 minutes. Skyreach is definitely one of the harder dungeons to live as a K-Mage. On the first pull, you have to make sure that you pre-alter time the first Blade Rush. You will see this right here. We stack the pull, we're gonna pop Bloodlust, and then we are gonna use alter time before the Blade Rush. Why is that? The only thing that can kill you here is the bleed overlap with the AoE from the Squalls or from the Ravens. So as you can see, we cover basically the whole bleed with alter time. Now we will just use block afterwards for the Squalls and for the Screeches. And then, usually this Blade Talon should die before the second Blade Rush. After this Blade Talon dies, there's not really any danger for you in this pull. Just make sure to use your barrier whenever you feel like you're dropping too low from the Screeches. You can also use a health pot if needed. On the second pull, same thing as on the first pull. Just use all the time before the Blade Rush. That way you should be able to survive it every time. While the boss might seem scary with the bleeds he's doing, it's actually the same as with the Blade Talons. The bleed goes out, you alter time, and then when you drop low, you just alter time back and you're gonna be absolutely fine. Every second time, you could also use a block or a health pot or your barrier to cover the other ones where you don't have alter time. This way, this boss should not be any problem for you. In the pull after first boss, there's not really much happening. Make sure to kick casters, kill the orbs, that way there's not really any incoming damage for you and you should be fine to survive this without a problem. It's also pretty good because you can recover defensives, and those defensives you will definitely need for the next pull. The beam of the golems absolutely wrecks you as a mage. The good thing is we have Invis, and if you're playing Night Elf, you also will have Melt. You can see this right here in a second. I'm gonna get a beam on myself and I'm just gonna use Melt to immediately get rid of that beam. This is amazing right here, pressing Melt and we are done. No damage incoming. If you ever run out of Invis and Melt, then you can still block. You can still pre-alter time, you still have your health pot, and on top of that, you still have a healer, don't forget that. So you should not really die on this pull ever. Now comes the hard boss for Mage. The beams also kill you here again, like on the trash packs, so you kinda don't want to soak if you can avoid it. But if you soak, then you can use alter time. You can see it right here, I'm alter timing, I'm soaking the beam, I drop low, then I just alter back. The only other option is if you play with an Evoker, you could soak a beam and the Evoker can wiggle in and out behind you to avoid you taking too much damage. Ukran for a mage can be quite challenging too, but here I would just suggest use your alter time on cooldown for the ticks from the birds. And other than that, use your barrier, use your health pot, use your block. If you feel like you are dying, you can't really use your alter time wrong here as long as you keep using it on cooldown. A lot of people do this Blade Talon pull next. The same thing applies to this guy and also to the guy after on the platform. You wanna alter time before the Blade Rush, and then you wanna just make sure to hard focus him, kill him. If you get a second bleed, a second Blade Rush, use everything you have on it. You can block, you can use health pot, you can use your barrier. This way, usually you should be able to survive it. Same thing will happen afterwards on the pull on the platform, where you have another Blade Talon. You always want to alter time 1 and then use the rest of your things or an external if you don't have your defensives for the second bleed. Last but not least, the boss. This boss is a huge problem for Mage. Why is that? The debuffs that you get are in a high frequency and alter time has a 40-second cooldown. This means you won't have it for every single one of the debuffs. How do you counterplay that? Well, that's the hard part. You want to make sure that you use your cooldowns as good as you can. Use alter time on the first one. Use block on the second. Use alter time on the third. Use barrier and health pot on the fourth. Use alter time on the fifth. So you always vary your defensives. Also, the healers still have externals and spot healing. So once you can't cover one of them, you just have to make sure that you tell your healer. Or if you can't tell him, then you just have to hope that you survive it. The good thing though is as Mage, we don't have to deal with the flames, because these flames can be invis. Whenever you get the arrow above your head, make sure to just press invis, you saw it right here, and that way you don't even have to play that mechanic. If you are Night Elf, the same thing applies to Shadow Melt. Next up we have Magisters Terrace. First pull, only the sentry can kill you, kick the casters, and other than that, whenever the AoE is about to go out, press barrier. Same thing like on the Mammoth in Maisara Caverns, this way you can never die, even if it's a 21-22. The other thing I want to tell you about here is the Arcane Beam. This one can actually be invis or melded once it's on you, this way you avoid taking damage from that completely as well. You can see here, I'm gonna press my barrier, or I don't even press it because I still have one up. but if I didn't have one up, I would have pressed it. Second pull of the dungeon, pretty straightforward, just a lot of casters. Make sure you keep interrupting, use your supernova if many casts go through. This way there's not really anything that can go wrong. The best way to play the next mob, in my opinion, is to press block early while you still have the codexes up. Why is that? The codexes do damage to you, combined with the ignition, this can be really dangerous. So usually you can see here I press block early, so I don't die. And after the block runs out, you will see me press Algethar time right here on the next ignition. And this way you will never be able to die. Then we have another sentry pull. It's basically the same as the first pull. The only thing I want to mention here is the Spellwoven Familiar. This guy jumps on you, and because he jumps on you and does damage on you, you want to make sure that you press barrier on the last second before the AoE. Otherwise, this guy might remove your barrier and then you get one shot. It is really similar to the Mammoth of Maisara Caverns, you might see, right? And this is what I want to tell you with this guide as well. A lot of the times, pressing defensives is the same in every dungeon. You kinda try to just negate as much as you can. Next up, the boss. Usually you play one worm pack with the boss. Whenever the worms explode, with the ignition and the arcane explosion after, this is usually really dangerous. So usually you want to use block here. You can see that I didn't have block ready yet. We're missing 10 seconds, keys too low, smile. But if that happens, usually a well-timed Algethar time should still be enough. Other than that, there's not much to say about this boss survivability wise. The arcane explosion doesn't one-shot you even on a 22. So just press your barrier whenever you have a damage down phase and then you should be fine. Okay, the boss is dead, we're going to the next pull. Usually this is where you pull a lot of worms again with the bleed from the Spellbreaker. You can see here you can invis the bleed or can melt it as well. It was targeted on me, you can just press invis this way, you don't even get it. And then you still just press block whenever the worms explode. This way there's no risk of you ever dying. You will see it right here, worms about to die, I'm pressing block, no way I can die here. After this, the only thing that's dangerous here is the caster, just kick him, and the bleed. But what do we do with a bleed? You might remember from Skyreach, you just pre-Algethar time the bleed if you have it. It's kind of the same on the next pull, so I skipped it. We go into the Bloodlust pull. We just have 2 bleeds here. It's the same as always. Make sure to use your Algethar time well. Make sure to use a barrier if needed. I think we already covered a lot how to do this, and in my opinion you should be fine to survive this. Here, for example, I misplayed big. I also wanted to show you that also someone like me misplays. The Spellbreaker targeted me, we had invis ready. Because I was focusing so much on my rotation, I didn't press invis. So you might say, yeah, see, even you procced, hey, you would have died. No, that's not true. If I would have pressed my buttons correctly, if I would have invised, I would not have died. So that's just a misplay, happens, but even if you die once in a dungeon, that's no trouble at all, right? Now we get to the boss. On the boss, basically same as always. You get a bleed, you will Algethar time, and then before you enter the bubble, make sure that you're full HP. So here I did it really easily, right? I pressed Algethar time, I immediately went in because I was still full HP, but then I didn't Algethar time back immediately after. Why is that? Well, the healer topped me, so I was full HP, so why should I Algethar back? I would waste that. Instead, I waited till my teammate goes into the bubble as well, and then I pressed Algethar back to make sure that I'm full HP. Also, if you don't have all the time ever, you still have block, you still have health pot, you still have your barrier. Just make good use of them, and this way you should be able to survive this always. After this boss, you do this big pull usually. The best case scenario here is that you have block. As you can see, I don't have block. Usually whenever the big guy does his AoE, you will just press block, you cover it completely, there's no way of you dying here ever. Consuming Shadows is what it's called. I don't have block, so what do? Instead I Algethar time, I make sure that I watch my HP drop. It's a ticking AoE, right? So you can kind of predict if you're gonna die by the next tick. You can see you tick down to 50%, the healer heals you up again. You tick down to 30%, the healer heals you up again. And if you ever feel like you're gonna die on the next tick, just Algethar back. This way, even if you don't have block, you should be fine here. Fast forward, I just want to show you what I meant with pressing block. Here he's gonna cast his AoE in a second, and we're just gonna block it, and we are chilling as hard as you can. Bam, consuming shadows, block. We don't have to worry about anything. The only thing that's really dangerous on the boss is the debuff that he's giving you. You're gonna see this in a second here. This is where you want to press Algethar time, or this is where you also want to press your block or your health pot, your barrier. Cosmic Sting is what it's called. If you get targeted by that, make sure to pre-Algethar time that. That way you can get the big hit, you can maybe even receive one more tick, and then you Algethar time back, you're fine. The pull-in is not really dangerous. Even on a 22, the healer should easily be able to heal that. You shouldn't really be too worried about that. Okay, with that we covered all the mobs in the dungeon. Even if you play one more of the big mobs here on the platform, it's going to be the same as before, so I'm not going to talk about it. So let's see the last boss. How do you play this? As a mage, I would highly suggest that you play on the same side as the other 2 DPS. So here you can see we have the Elemental Shaman and we have the Retribution Paladin on the side with me. And you want to avoid soaking as much as possible. If you ever soak a circle, you want to make sure that you press a button. You can see that right here, I have an overlap with the debuff and a soak, and I'm just gonna press block. The other option would be to press alter time and barrier last second, so I don't get one shot. There's many options, but in general, it's really hard to soak as a mage here. Please only do it if you have a cooldown up. Or the other option is if you don't have the debuff, if you don't have the orb debuff, which ticks you down, you can then also soak it, right? Because you will not get one shot by soaking. This covers everything you need to know in Magisters Terrace. Let's go to the next dungeon. Next up, we have Seed. This is one dungeon that a lot of people struggle with. The first pull with triple chains can be quite challenging. I found the best way for me to play it is to block the first triple chains. I'm gonna block late here, you're gonna see it. Why do I block first? This is because I can cover basically all chains with that. You can see it right here, the block covers basically everything. And I can just focus fully on my rotation without having to worry about dying. The next chains that are going out, already one subjugator usually is dead, and then you can just barrier and you should be chilling. You see, barrier removes the chains and you're done with it. You also have Invis and Melt. If you ever get the healing debuff, you can actually melt it and you can also Invis it. This is why Night Elf can be really good in this dungeon. But if you don't get the healing debuff, you can also use your Invis or your Melt to remove chains. You can see it right here. I used my Invis to remove these chains. I still have Melt, I still have barrier for the next chains. Completely easy, there's no danger at all. You saw the Leeching Void was on the healer. If it was on me, I could have just pressed Melt and then get rid of it. The boss is really easy as a Arcane Mage. He has two abilities. One is the Oozing Slam that you see here. You always pre-alter time that. And then you just let yourself tick down. You alter time back. You will be chilling. You can never die, even on a 22. The other ability is this Big Slam. And this is what you're holding your barrier for. On this boss, nothing else does damage. So like on the Mammoth, like on the Sentry in the other dungeons, whenever the big AoE goes out, you just press your barrier and you're fine. If you time your stuff right, you should never need your block. And that means you can hold your block for the next pull. This is what you're gonna need it for too. So you see it here, barrier, and we are fine. Now we get to the hardest pull of the dungeon. Bleeds plus AoE tick. This is incredibly deadly, so we have to break it down into 3 phases. Pre-AoE phase, AoE phase, and after AoE phase. This is the pre-AoE phase, the guy is not ticking yet. We got a bleed, but here we're not gonna overreact. We're just gonna press alter time. We're just gonna alter back and we're fine. Like always, we just use alter time to negate a bleed, right? Now the AoE ticking starts. If we ever feel like we die here, if we get a bleed here, you see we got a bleed, we press block. You didn't have to use block on the boss, as you remember, so you will always have block here, and with block covering it, you should never die. Then the AoE is over, so you go back to the pre or after AoE phase. So here you can use your barrier, health pot, or your alter time if you need to. Next up, this pull, I skipped the subjugator pull because it's the same as the first pulls. You just use your barrier or your invis to remove the chains and the healing debuff, easy peasy. This one is the same as the pull before that we've seen, but just without bleeds. So here I actually just use alter time. I don't need to waste my block. I just use the alter time for ticking damage. You can imagine this like the guy in Magisters Terrace. You always know that the next tick is coming. Just make sure that you're healthy enough to survive it and then you're fine. Now you can see why I would prefer to not press block on the previous pull. I think that was a bit of a misplay here. We go into another Rift Warden with bleed pull. This is the same as the pull after the first boss. You have to break it down into the pre-AoE phase, the AoE phase, and the after AoE phase. So here, if I would get a bleed, I would just alter time. Then I would use my block again whenever the ticking comes in. This way, it's basically the same as before, you will not die here. Okay, the boss, this is interesting. So the cat always targets 2 people that can get a bleed. And if you didn't get a bleed the last time, you might get it the next time. So you can see you can invis the bleed if you time it correctly. So once the cat jumps, you press invis, you can actually not get the bleed. It's hard to time it, but it's worth to try at least because this bleed absolutely kills you. Then other than that, you just make sure that you use your alter time. For this AoE here, you saw it, I used it for the other one. I think there was a mistake by myself. You usually want to use it for this ticking. And then you can use your block if you ever get overlapped and you didn't invis it. Another thing I want to mention is how do you play with a barrier. Usually you want to just make sure that you get hit natty here. That means you don't press anything, you get dropped really low and then you barrier after. This helps you to survive any jump by the cat if you get jumped after this. And you can see I get jumped here, I had a barrier up. So now we have a bleed without an overlap. What do we do on bleeds without overlap? We just use alter time, exactly like always. If we didn't get jumped by the cat, we would have used the alter time for the debuff that came out after. So since you can basically compare the debuff to a bleed, it's the same thing, just use your alter time on cooldown for any ticking debuff that you get. Okay, this pull actually has 2 ticking debuffs again, right? It has the circle by the big guy and it has the bleed. So here again, what do? If we get the 1 ticking debuff, we alter time it. If we get both ticking debuffs and we overlap, we use our block. This is how you do it. And this is why you should never waste your block on a single debuff. It is so important that you have it for these overlaps. You see here, I alter time. I have 1 ticking debuff, right? I alter time. Easy peasy. If I get jumped now by the bleed, I would immediately press block. I don't get jumped by the bleed, there's nothing to worry about. You will never die to a single bleed in a dungeon. You might drop low, but this is what alter time is good for, right? You can just alter back to full HP. Now we go into another hard pull. On this one, you get the Void Infusion. If you get targeted by the Void Infusion, the good thing is as a mage, you can always invis it. Starting the Void Infusion, it's not on me, but if it was on me, I would have just pressed invis and you're fine. It's the same on the boss, this is why I'm not really gonna talk much about it here. I'm gonna show you how it looks like when you invis the Mass Void Infusion on the boss now. The boss can be broken down in 2 phases. It's basically always the same rotation of phases and it's around 1 minute between them. Which means, if we think about our invis cooldown, wait. Invis has a 1 minute cooldown. That's perfect, no? So on the Mass Void Infusion, you can always press invis or as an item of melt. The good thing about melt is it's not a global cooldown, which means you can just blast your full rotation in your opener and you don't have to worry about pressing invis. But other than that, you can just press invis and this does no damage to you at all. Then the tentacles. I would just trust your healer to heal you here, because you need your alter time and maybe your block and your health pot for the intermission phase. You can see here, I'm not pressing anything. The only thing that you might press if you want to is your barrier on cooldown to have a little absorb shield, but that's it. So now we get knockback, then we go close, and this is actually not hard as mage as well. You will see right here what happens now. We're gonna start alter timing, we pre-barrier as well. Usually the healer also always has some kind of cooldown for this phase. Once we tick low, we will just alter back. Then we get like 2 more ticks. This should not kill you. Now we go back to phase 1. And guess what? We will start invising again. And it repeats, it repeats. If you play it like this, you always still have a safety block. If the healer ever fucks up, you still have a health pot maybe for some of the phases. So you should be fine to survive this boss even on a high key. Last but not least, Lura. This one is quite hard as a mage. I would suggest that you probably talk to your healer beforehand, because if you get the beam, you always need to use either block or cocoon here. So I would talk to your healer and say, on the first beam if I get it, I use block, the second one please cocoon me. So you can see right here, I use block on this one. Please, I've seen this also on 20s and 21s where I watch mages and they just don't press anything. Holy fuck, you're inting yourself and your healer. Start pressing stuff. If you don't have block and you're not getting cocooned, what do? Like on every single AoE that we've learned, you're gonna press barrier last second. You're gonna alter time and then you're gonna press barrier last second. Why is that? Prismatic barrier is even more broken here. This is magic damage, and prismatic barrier makes you take 20% less magic damage, which means you will always guaranteed survive it. If you're not playing arcane, just press another barrier. It still makes you survive it with a high probability, right? An example of pressing barrier and how it survives is here. I wait till the last second, I don't greet anything, and then I just press barrier, like on any AoE, and you will always survive it this way. With this, we go into the next dungeon. Next up, Algethar. First pull, I would say there's not much happening. I don't really want to talk about this here, because there's not really any incoming damage, just dodge the puddles on the floor. A lot of groups pull the skitterflies into the first boss. You can see them, they're still alive here. Then you get the debuff, and the debuff actually ticks for a lot. So if this is the case, you want to block to make sure that you're not getting overlapped by a bleed tick and a jump by the skitterflies. You don't really need your block after. It's just really good to press it here. I'm holding my barrier here. What am I holding it for? It's for the stump plus bleed tick. Because the only thing that can really kill you is if you get stomped by the boss while you still have a bleed up. So usually you want to use your barrier for that. You can use the alter time, for example, to negate 1 or 2 bleed ticks. I usually do this during the fight when I don't move much anyway. I just press alter time with the bleed and then I just alter back when I'm low HP. Eagles are actually not dangerous, except if you go up to 22, then they actually one-shot you. If you ever get to that level, then just make sure that you have something up for every single screech. For example, you could press barrier on the first screech, and then you could press block on the second screech. Or maybe the healer cocoons you, or the sapphire, or anything, right? You can see here on 21 I survive without pressing anything. Whenever I played 22, I had to make sure that I pressed something else for the second Screech. Then the boss. The real dangerous phase of the boss is a fire phase. This is where you want to make sure that you have block. So what you can do is, since it's about 3 minutes into the fight, you can block early into the boss fight. So what I like to do is, I like to alter time the first Screech of him, then I like to block the second, and then guess what? We have alter time back, so we can alter time the third. Here I don't press alter time. Why is that? I was in voice with the healer and he told me that he has trinket and a lot of healing, so I just saved my alter time. I didn't need to press it. If I wasn't in voice with him, I guaranteed would have pressed my alter time here. This continues to the fire phase the same way. You just alter time, vary it with another defensive, for example block or barrier with health pot, or maybe you get a cocoon as well when you don't have something. Then here on the first AoE in the fire phase, you want to make sure that you block that. You can see usually you have big burst on this phase anyway, so normally you get a maximum of 2 Screeches. So just block on the first Screech, bam, there we go, easy peasy. Block really late as well because it's a debuff, remember, so don't block early. Block right before the Screech goes off, and then you will just use your alter time on the next one combined with your barrier and whatever you have left to make sure that you survive it. On these guys, there's not much to talk about. There's only the thing that you can bait the jumps. If you are the furthest target, you can see here I'm the furthest target, and then you can melt or invest the cast late. This way the mob stays in melee range, you don't get a debuff. If you actually don't have invis, then make sure that you are not the furthest target, because this debuff is absolutely shredding you and you want to make sure that it is never on you if you don't have invis. You can see here I melted the first one, then I invest the second one. This big pull that you might see in a lot of groups is not really dangerous per se. There's not much that can happen here. You just have to make sure that you kick the surges and that you stun the other guys. There's not really much incoming damage, so I'm gonna skip right now to the boss. Okay, Veximus has 2 phases. It's the debuff phase and it's the debuff plus AoE phase. As you can guess, whenever we have 2 things overlapping, it's where it's getting dangerous. So if we get a circle on the first one, we will always press only small defensives. This is the small one, it's the first circles of the boss. Here you only want to press small defenses, while if you get the second circles, this overlaps with the arcane explosion, then you have to press something like block, cocoon, something big. You can see here, these are the second mana bombs, I get them, and like I said, there's a big overlap, so you want to press block. If you use block late here, you even can overlap that with the AoE, so you cover both of the explosion of the mana bomb and the AoE, and you cannot die. So now we get into the situation where we don't have block for the overlap, so we have to manage our cooldowns. If we get bombs here on the first phase, we can either press barrier late, it's the same as on Lura to survive it, or another thing you can do is you press alter and alter back last second before the explosion to be full HP, then the explosion takes you down to 20% or 10% and you're fine. I will replay that now so you can actually see what I mean with that. So right here we get the bomb, I decide myself I'm gonna go for the alter play, I alter time early, then right before the explosion goes up I alter back, I'm full HP. It's a really high skill ceiling play, but this is how you have to do it, because now we still have the barrier for the explosion. The explosion itself will not kill you, but I just have to assume that I'm getting a circle. You can see me getting a circle here as well. So what do? I press barrier late for the explosion, and now if I'm not topped, I will press health pot. You can see that there as well, right? I will replay it again because it was really fast. So the ticking damage is not killing you, it's the explosion at the end. You want to make sure to press the barrier right before the bomb goes off, bam, there we go. And then I'm not topped for the AoE, so I'm just pressing my health pot on top of that to make sure that I'm full HP, that way you survive the explosion even on the 22. If I wouldn't health pot there, I would have just hoped that my healer heals me enough that I survive the AoE. But since I have health pot, just make sure to use that as well. So you can see you kind of have to manage your cooldowns, but this way you can always survive it. Same thing here again. If I would get both circles, I would have barrier and then I would have alter time, right? So I would use one for the one bomb and then the other ability for the other bomb. This way on Veximus, even on a 22, you can usually survive every single phase by yourself without needing a single cocoon on this boss. Obviously having a cocoon is an extra, but I think as a mage, if you play this correct, then you can probably just get through this boss without needing any externals. Okay, then the big Bloodlust pull. Here you want to make sure that you have a pre-barrier, because what that enables you to do is the first slam you don't have to press anything. You will see here the first slam goes out, I don't have to press anything, right? Now the question is, does the healer use externals? Yes, we see Litany going out, so we don't have to press anything. Now we can just block for the next slam. So we have barrier for the first, Litany for the second, block for the third and fourth AoE. Now one is that. And guess what we can do now? We still have another barrier, right? Because we pre-barriered. So here you can see in a second the next slam goes out. I'm gonna just barrier. So we have barrier up, so we can survive one slam. And then after the first time, I told my healer, please cocoon me so I can stay. So you see here, for the second one, I'm getting cocooned because otherwise I would not have an absorb shield and I would get one shot. If you're not in voice with your healer and you don't get cocoon here, don't panic, you don't die. Why don't you die? You can just line of sight the AoEs. Just don't be greedy. If you don't know if you're getting in cocoon here, you can then still stay in the pool for so long. You saw how long I managed to stay in this pool by myself without any support, without any externals. The mobs were on 10%. Don't greed it. If you don't know if you're getting cocoon, just line of sight the AoE and you're fine. The last boss is pretty straightforward. Don't walk into orbs. And whenever you get the circle, the big damage debuff, make sure that you either have a prismatic barrier before getting dispelled, before the explosion, or to press block. That way, we covered Algethar Academy 2, and I hope that you time your next one as soon as possible. Let's hop into the next dungeon. Okay, next up, Pit of Saron. I'm not gonna talk about kicking mobs or that you have to kick the cadavers and the casters. I'm just gonna talk about what can kill you other than that here. So here on the first pull, it's only the Lich probably that can kill you, because he can use a beam on you. Whenever you get targeted by a beam, what can he do? You could invis or you could melt it. So this way, the first pull should not be hard for you at all. The only other thing you could mention here is the debuffs that go out, which is the curses. If you ever see a curse as mage, you have decurse, so just feel free to spam some decurse on your friends and or yourself. I would not do that in my cooldowns because usually that's when the healer can easily heal it, but other than that, when you're out of cooldowns, just make sure that you always decurse whenever you see one of the curses go out. Okay, second pull, usually you have the gargoyle in here. Whenever you have a gargoyle, the only good thing to know here is if he grabs you, you can invis it as mage. For example, here you can see I have meld ready still. So he will grab me here, I press meld, and we're fine. I just include this pull just to have something more in there. Pit in general, the trash can't really kill you. There's only one thing, which is the leaping guys. If 3 or 4 of these guys leap at you at the same time, you're gonna die nearly always. Here you can see I got the decurse and the gargoyles printed to me, so I decided to just use my block. This is the cool thing about Pit, you don't really have to hold your block for anything. You can just use it when you feel like you need it. Those leaping guys are one of the dangerous things, so I would suggest here that you always use your barrier on cooldown while they are alive. Or that you have something else up, like I said, block, or you just all the time for fun. You can see here in this pull, I didn't even press my all the time. I could have just for fun pressed all the time, it's not on global cooldown. And if I get leaped on, if I get the curse, if I get the beam, if I get hit by the gargoyle, I could have just altered back and negate some damage for free. Okay, the boss. The only thing you have to know about the boss is this cryo stomp. You can see right here, usually how you want to play it is you want to press something big on every single stomp, and between it you're not really dying with a good healer normally. I will fast forward a bit to the next cryo stomp because on the first one, while the ads were still up, I used block. Why is that? Well, you could get overlapped with some leaps, so I wanted to make sure that on the stomp I don't die by just using my block there. Okay, so here we don't have block, right? So what do we do? Like always when we have a big stomp? Exactly, we're gonna use our barrier last second. Prize storm goes out, I press barrier last second, and we are fine, and you cannot die here. Easy as that. You still have your health pot, you still have alter time that you can use for fun. You can see my alter time was on cooldown, so I just used it for this ticking phase that you get here. You can just alter time for fun here to help you heal out a bit. Then I'll actually continue to the next boss, because the trash between the first and second boss is the same as before. The only thing I want to note here is when he splits into 3 cricks, 2 of them can beam people, and if the beam is new, I would highly suggest that you either invis it, that you use melt, that you use block, or you can also decurse. All of that removes the beam on you. You can see right here, it's on me. I just decide to block it here for a bit, because why not? I have block, I don't really need it otherwise. So we can just negate damage for our group by blocking here. And then for the stomp, you just want to make sure that you either have something up. Right there we had litany, so I didn't have to press anything. If we didn't have that, I would have maybe just used my barrier, right? Like always, for big AoEs, just use your barrier. So right here you can see I decurse myself from the debuff. That way the beam gets removed, easy as that. Last thing in this dungeon is the clay chef guy. Really here, the only thing that you need to know is the circles. They actually hurt you a lot as mage. You can see right here you want to press something. Since there are also leaping guys here, like always, if you remember our general rule, if there is 2 things that can overlap, you want to make sure that you press a big defensive proactively. So right there you saw I got even leaped on by 3 guys. I might have died if I didn't have block up. Then after that, whenever you get a circle, you just press your barrier, like always on AoEs, and you should be fine. Okay, then we get to the last boss. Your defensives here you should mainly use for 2 things. You can, for example, use a barrier for the ticking of the ad, but always make sure that you have something for the big ticking debuff that the boss gives you. It's called Bone Infusion. You see it go out right here. Unfortunately, I didn't have all the time ready, but now once I got topped, I immediately all the time. That covers Pit of Saron. Pretty easy dungeon, pretty straightforward. Let's go to the next dungeon. Okay, next up, Nexus Point, one of my favorite dungeons this season. So here you can see normally you do the pull to the left in hierarchies. The first pull, you want to make sure that you have your barrier ready, because if you get a circle around you, you can just remove that with the barrier. You can see here I saw the circles go out, it wasn't on me, so I just used my barrier after that. But if the circle would be on me, I would have just used it to remove the circle and we're fine. Other than that, the first pull is not really much to talk about. Just make sure to kick the casters, and when the mana bombs come out here in a second, you want to make sure to focus them. Then you usually go into this reset pull. Same thing here, there's not really much that is damage to you. You just have to make sure that you kick the AoE. This is what kills you. Arcane Explosion, you see it right here. My other guy didn't kick the caster, so I made sure that I used my Supernova to knock him up. Because if this does not get kicked, you die really fast as a mage. Okay, then this big pull, same thing here. On the circle, you would want to press barrier. Unfortunately, this recording is when I didn't have much experience yet in this dungeon. So here I used my barrier beforehand and I didn't have it, but I got Tiger's Lusted, so this is fine. Then there is this big AoE from the circuits here. In my opinion, now after playing it for a while, I think here you should press block, because you don't really need the block on the boss. But other than that, you saw what I did, I used my all the time. As always, if there's one ticking damage debuff, just use your all the time and you're fine. Okay, then the boss. The boss doesn't really do damage, right? The beams, you just have to hope that your healer heals you. This is really important, don't panic on the beams. You can even see here, we didn't kick the ad, it nearly went wrong. So here I get the debuff and I will not press anything. I will just trust my healer to heal me here. This usually should be no problem for your healer, even on a 21-22. The only thing you have to watch out for here is the AoE. So when the AoE goes out, you want to make sure that you all the time. Why is that? All the time resets you back to full HP, so that way you can remove a full health bar of the heal absorb, right? If you ever feel like the healer can't heal you even though you all the time, make sure that you can also still press barrier and you still have your health pot. So these tools should enable you to not die on this boss. Okay, then we go into the next pull. Here you usually just have to make sure that you kick the nullifiers. You can even see here that we nearly didn't kick one because it's a no voice pack. I think it even goes through. Other than that, there's also not really much happening here that can kill you. There is the beam, the leeching void I think it's called, which is heal absorb that's channeled on you. If you get that, after you get it, yeah, you see it right here, entropic leech goes on me. Once it connects with me, you can just invis right there and it's gone. And that's basically all you have to look out for. The other pulls up to the boss are kind of similar. There are some mobs that do a Dread Bellow, which is a ticking AoE, but it doesn't really do insane amounts of damage. Just make sure that you always press your all the time on that one and then you're fine. So now we are on the boss. The boss gives you these big circles. You can use, for example, an all the time on the first one. But in my opinion, after playing Nexus Point a few more times, I would make sure that you don't use big defenses on this ever, because you need your big defenses for the phase, right? The intermission right here, when you stand on a beam, you take so much damage, and even if you have a good healer, it still can be a problem for him to heal you sometimes, because you tick for quite a lot of HP. So I would rather use my defensives on this in the future. Okay, then we have the big pull after the second boss. On this one here, lingering images might give you a debuff. It's called Blistering Smite. You can see it go out here right now on our monk. You can also see him pressing a defensive. This is exactly what you do here. If you ever see that a Blistering Smite is coming on you, just all the time, use your barrier as well. Maybe you still have a block from the boss. You can use your defensive tools here. Don't worry about it. You can't really do much wrong here. You see it's coming out on me. You can even invis it. So right here, I don't know if that's a good call because I have all the time ready. Maybe I should have just taken it. But I decided that I don't want the debuff on me and I just basically invested. This is another option. If you are out of defensives and the lingering images cast Blistering Smite on you, you can obviously still invis it because it's a targeted spell and then you will not get targeted by it. Okay, I mean in the boss, I just wanted to show you one thing you can do here. When you get the AoEs, the circles, you can all the time then just place the circle somewhere else. You can see me doing that right here. I blink somewhere, place it, I drop low, I alter back, and then you can just basically negate the damage like that. There's not really much else happening on this boss, except that you have to interrupt the correct guy. So yeah, this dungeon is also pretty straightforward like Pit. I wouldn't really be too worried defensive-wise here. Hey, last dungeon of the series is gonna be Windrunner Spire. You can see here that we're on a 21. And the first pull is quite difficult for some people. But I would basically say it's the same as in Seed first pull. The early stage is dangerous because you can get a debuff with the AoE and it can basically one-shot you. So what I highly suggest here is that you just preemptively block, because after you survive the first AoE, the pull is gonna die anyway because you're on Bloodlust. So you're gonna see me here blocking in a second. So right now I'm blocking, and this covers basically all the AoEs. This covers if a debuff goes out, this covers if a cast goes out, and that way you can see the Maguses basically are dead already. These guys are doing the AoE, and after they die, it would only be the debuff. And like always, what do we do if we get a singular debuff? We could just order time, so we will not die here. Fast forwarding to the next pull. Here, I would just be careful about the dragon. So you get the debuff, but that one just gets dispelled by the healer, and this dragon channels on people, but you saw here right now that Ferox stunted, our Demon Hunter stunted, so that's good. So once the dragon has his shield, make always sure to spell steal that. That's something that's maybe a bit important to know as well. And then you can just burst this pull, there's nothing really happening here. So this pull is a bit hard for Mage. You get those jumps, and those jumps nearly one-shot you. You want to make sure that you always use your block on the first jump that you get, and then you would want a cocoon or an external on the second one. You can see a good example here how this goes wrong. The healer cocoons me while I block, because we're not in voice, so this is a bit awkward, right? And now I'm obviously praying that I'm not getting a second jump, because otherwise it can be really close. But of course the game loves me, so I get a second jump here. So what do? I press barrier and alter time. As we have learned, usually if you barrier stuff, you might survive it. So even on 21, I'm not getting one shot with a barrier up. Easy peasy as that. I can just alter back after to make sure that nothing stupid happens, and I'm good. Okay, on this pull with the big plant, there's nothing really that does damage to you except debuff by the plant. So you just want to make sure that when you pull that and the debuff goes out, that you alter time. You're gonna see that here in a second. So the Spore Dispersal goes out, and what are we gonna do? We are gonna use our alter time here any second. There we go. So basically we negate damage this way, and the healer can focus on other people. Then whenever you pull the dragons into the pull, you just have to make sure to stun them when they do that channel. You see here that I unfortunately stunned a bit too late, so the healer dies. But I mean, I'm not the only one with stun, right? It's just what happens in no voice groups. But this is the only thing that can kill you here. So you want to make sure that you interrupt or that you stun those dragons. Okay, now we go into the boss, and there's one thing only you need to know, which is that there's also two phases again that you can talk about. The phase 1 and the intermission. The phase 1 where you get the circles, you shouldn't really use big defensives on, because that one can easily be healed by the healer. You want to use your stuff on intermission. And like always, you could, for example, use your block in the intermission. You could alter time. Just make sure that you always have something up for intermission. So you can see here, the only thing I use is the barrier, and that I only pressed because I also got channeled by the Drake. If I didn't get channeled by the Drake, I probably wouldn't even have to use that. So now I alter time in the intermission, and that way I can negate most of the damage. So this is just a bit of a reactive play. I would highly suggest that you always use your alter time in the intermission. You have it for every single intermission, so make use of that. Then we get into the Bloodlust pull. This is what I see a lot of people in the Mage Discord memeing about, because those cutthroats in this wing can one-shot you. But another good thing you can do here is, while you're in your burst here, right, make sure that you always have a barrier up, because you are not going to get one-shot. And do you see what I do here? I pre-alter time, because I know that the only thing that can kill me here is if I get low and then a cutthroat jumps me. So that way, what I do here is I pre-alter time in case I get jumped, and then I could alter time back so I would not die. This is something I see a lot of mages not doing, so you want to have your barrier up. If you don't have your barrier up, make sure that you pre-alter time, even if you're not getting jumped. This is how you survive this stuff, basically. So now you see I had a shield from Litany, so I would not get one shot as well, and now I can press my own barrier again in theory. Not having block on that pull is usually good, because that means you have it on this pull. This one is quite a bit dangerous, because whenever you get those circles that you see here, you want to press block preemptively again. Why is that? Well, this takes you down, and you saw right there what would have killed me. The cutthroat jumps me while I'm already low HP, and I would have died if I didn't press block. It's a bit of a gamble, right, because you don't know if you get jumped, but this is kind of what you need to do. There's always going to be two circles that you have to survive, so this is the second one. So what do I do here? Here, I hope that I don't get jumped. If I would get jumped here, I would probably die. I'm going to be realistic. The only thing that you could counterplay here, and what I, in the aftermath, after looking at this, do better is, I would probably use my alter time, right? Because that way I could then, when I tick just a tiny bit down, I could alter time back to full HP, so then I might even survive the jump. So I think if I play this absolutely perfect, then I would maybe be able to survive it even without block. Okay, on a Derelict Door, I mean, there's not much happening. I feel like this boss is kinda free. You want to use your defensives on these circles, on the green circles. Why is that? Well, this is the only thing that actually is damage to you, so you see this right here. you want to press something. In this case, I got a Cocoon. Because you also get a debuff afterwards, it's just a lot of damage, and negating the damage helps your healer tremendously. You don't need to use your defenses for anything else, just use it for those circles. Okay, then we go to this big pull. Here there's not much happening, honestly, just dodge stuff, and for those AoEs, the interrupting screeches, just make sure that you use your barrier, for example. You can see here, I also make mistakes, right? I'm a human being, so I got even arcane locked. But I would suggest, since they go back to back, that you want to press alter time before the first screech. Then you alter time back to full HP and you just use your barrier for the second screech. This way you can never die on this pull. Then we got to those 2 big pulls before the third boss. Here you just have to know that the only dangerous thing for you is if you overlap a bleed with the AoE. So you see right here, this is just an AoE. As always, if there's only one damage source, I can just alter time. I was even still full HP, so I'm just letting it run in case I get damaged by something else. And then if I would have a bleed with the AoE overlap, that's when I press my block. This is the rules that we established throughout this long video, right? So whenever here I have a debuff, the bleed, and now if the AoE would go out, this is where I would press block. On this boss, the only thing you have to know is the rallying bellow. Whenever you hit 66 or 33%, just make sure that you press your barrier here. Unfortunately, I had to waste my barrier before that for another thing that happened, but you can see that I got sacked. If I didn't get sacked here, it would be troublesome, but usually if everything goes right, you will at least have your barrier or your block, and you just press one of those two and then you're fine. Okay, then we get to the last boss. The only thing you have to know is whenever you get this debuff where you can see a foot, you want to make sure that you reset that as soon as possible, because that way your healer doesn't have to heal much. Other than that, the only thing you really have to press your big defensive on, I'm talking about block here, is when you get the frontal. So you can see here, this is the frontal cone ability by the boss. It is, for example, on Demoniana right here. So if it was on me, I would have my block ready. So you can also see Demoniana is bubbling for that. This is usually what you want to use your big cooldown on. And with this, we have covered all the dungeons. We have 2 more months of the season. I hope you enjoy grinding some dungeons as Mage. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe so I can do more of these. And please give me feedback what you think is good, what you think is bad. So next season I can do the same thing, but from the start of the season. See you in the next video.